Discovered, how a little girl's heartwarming gesture to a CEO transformed lives in just one touch. Lily pedaled furiously, her hair streaming like a comet behind her. The sun glinted off the paint-chipped houses in her small Midwestern town, where each family was like a chapter in a shared story. Yet, all too often, it felt like her mother, bustling between jobs, and she were living on the fringes of this narrative. Today was different. Today, her heart surged as she spotted Mr. Thompson, the elderly veteran from next door, struggling in his garden. His hands trembled like fragile leaves caught in a windstorm. "Mr. Thompson. Do you need help?" She called out, but he only shook his head, eyes downcast, struggling against the stubborn weeds. Lily's heart ached at the sight. An echo of her mother's lessons about kindness blossomed in her mind. Grabbing her sketchbook, she knelt in the sun and began to write a letter, pouring her gratitude and admiration for his service onto the pages. "Thank you for protecting us. If you need help, I'm here," she scribbled with determination. Meanwhile, across town, Alex sat in his high-rise office, enveloped by a cold, glass cage. The recent layoffs weighed heavily on him. He could almost hear the muffled cries of worry from his employees, each one a father or mother, dreams slipping away. Seeking an escape, he wandered into the local community center, where laughter and chatter met him like an old friend. There, amidst the animated discussions, he caught sight of a petite figure struggling to keep herself steady. It was Lily, standing before a group of veterans. Her voice quivered, but every word dripped with sincerity as she handed Mr. Thompson her heartfelt letter. A hush fell over the room, and for a moment, it felt as if time stopped. Hope swelled in Alex's chest, the genuine light in her eyes cutting through his corporate fog. Slowly, he approached, each step unveiling the curiosity in his heart. "That was a beautiful letter," he said, kneeling to her level. She smiled shyly, the corners of her mouth lifting like the first rays of dawn. In their gentle conversation, a bridge began to form, two worlds colliding, igniting an unexpected friendship, but the course was not easy. Through their discussions, Alex discovered the true pulse of the community, its challenges, resilience, and the undercurrent of economic struggle that rippled through the town. A gnawing truth began to unfold within him, the pieces of his own family history revealing connections to Lily's neighborhood, shadows of prejudice and privilege surfacing, demanding he confront his own biases. Questions danced in his mind about change and responsibility. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Just as momentum started to build, an unexpected crisis loomed on the horizon. A rumor of more layoffs threatened the fragile hope in the community. It was a moment of reckoning for Alex. Would he retreat back into the comfort of old corporate habits, or would he muster the courage to take a stand for the very people who had shown him the meaning of community? As fear and uncertainty hung in the air, Lily's innocent bravery lingered in his soul, sparking a question that would guide their journey: could kindness and courage truly change lives in a world that so often felt indifferent? Lily woke the next morning with a sense of unease curling in her stomach. The sun streamed through her window, but it felt muted, as if it, too, sensed the shadows looming over her community. News of potential layoffs had spread like wildfire, sending ripples of fear through the town. She thought of the veterans she had met, Mr. Thompson included, and the weight of their worries felt like bricks pressing against her heart. Her mother rushed through the morning routine, a whirlwind of breakfast prep and phone calls, her face drawn with concern. "Mom, can I go to the community center today? I want to see if Mr. Thompson needs anything," Lily asked, her voice tentative but firm. Her mother paused, scanning Lily's face. "You can, sweetheart, but please stay safe." "I'll be working late again," she replied, giving her a brief smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Lily nodded, already feeling the warmth of her determination building. The community center, the atmosphere was thick with tension. People gathered in small clusters, murmurs of uncertainty punctuating the air. Alex stood at the entrance, observing the scene before him, heart heavy. He hadn't been able to shake the thoughts of the layoffs. His heart ached for those who looked to him for guidance in this dark time. Then, he saw Lily, her small frame bubbling with energy as she approached Mr. Thompson, who sat with his head down, hands trembling over a tattered newspaper. Seeing the young girl's unyielding spirit sparked something inside him, an urge to act, to do more than stand idly by. "Mr. Thompson, I brought you some cookies," Lily chirped, thrusting the sugary treats toward him like they were treasures. The old man's face softened as he looked up. "You always know how to brighten my day, Lily," he said, a warm grin spreading across his face, if only momentarily. As they chatted, Alex stepped closer, drawn by the light that seemed to radiate from their exchange. The moment unfurled like a fragile flower, full of beauty, drawing him in. "Lily, have you thought about organizing a community meeting? You have a way of inspiring people," he suggested, curiosity glimmering in his eyes. Lily's face lit up, the idea taking root in her mind. "Yes. We can talk about how to support each other. I can help, and we can all share ideas." And just like that, a flicker of hope ignited in the room. Residents began to gather, intrigued by Lily's enthusiasm. They started voicing their fears, their needs, and as Alex listened, he realized he was on the cusp of a profound awakening himself. This was no longer just about business survival, it was about community resilience. But amidst the growing energy, uncertainty still shadowed the meeting. A figure approached Ms. Carter, the head of HR, with a serious expression. "Alex, we need to talk about the rumors," she said, her voice dripping with urgency. Confusion and apprehension filled the air. What could she possibly mean? As the meeting began to weave together stories of hope, Alex found himself torn between corporate loyalty and the authenticity of the voices calling for change around him. With every word spoken by the community, he felt more connected, yet the looming discussion with Ms. Carter loomed heavily in his mind, holding a truth he wasn't sure he wanted to face. Would he choose the path of the familiar business as usual or step into the brave unknown with the community that had shown him what real courage looked like? As anticipation hung palpably in the air, one pivotal question echoed in his heart: what would it take for him to truly stand with them? The answers were tangled in the chaos of his thoughts, and as tension mounted, Lily's hopeful gaze pierced through the haze, igniting an inner resolve he didn't know he possessed. Would this moment of truth finally push him toward the change that felt so necessary yet so daunting? The murmur of the gathering swelled around Alex, competing with the clamoring thoughts in his mind. He caught sight of Lily again, confidently addressing the group, her small stature magnified by the passion in her voice. The adults leaned in, hanging on to her words as if they were lifelines tossed into turbulent waters. "I know things are hard right now," Lily said, her tone steady but soft. "But we've all been through tough times before. We need to come together, help each other, and share what we can." She gestured toward the residents, encouraging them to voice their thoughts. Encouraged by her words, a woman from the back stood up. "I've got a garden at home, full of veggies that I can share. They're just sitting there." Another man chimed in, talking about his repair skills. "I can fix bikes and help kids get around." The conversation flowed, the once distant worries shifting into ideas and solutions, illuminating the community's spirit. Each new voice was a tribute to resilience, a reminder that they could weather any storm together. Meanwhile, Alex felt a different kind of storm brewing inside him. With every honest exchange, the stark reality of corporate priorities felt increasingly alien. The needs of the community were becoming clearer than the spreadsheets he pored over in his office. As connections sparked and ideas flourished, Alex glanced at Ms. Carter. Her brows furrowed in dismay. She watched as the meeting adapted into something more than mere discussion. He could see the conflict in her eyes. Her loyalties clearly rested with the corporation, yet the emotional undertow in the room had begun to tug at her, hinting at an uncharted possibility for change. When Lily turned back to him, her eyes wide with genuine hope, Alex felt compelled to speak. "Thank you, Lily. This is a great idea," he began, the weight of his words pressing on him, but he found strength in her encouraging gaze. Maybe we could put together a list of resources we all have. It could help us organize properly and reach out to those who need it most, he proposed. Surprised by the resolve in his voice, cheers of agreement erupted in the room, the sound akin to a rising tide, growing voracious and fierce. But as the applause washed over him, the knot in his stomach tightened. Would this momentum last when the meeting faded? As the energy surged, Miss Carter finally stepped forward, her face now a blend of exasperation and urgency. "Alex," she interrupted, her voice cutting through the excitement. "I'd like to discuss the layoffs. The company is making decisions that might directly impact this gathering." The room fell silent. Tension wove itself through the air like a thick fog. Alex felt all eyes shift toward him, awaiting his reaction. The choice felt suffocating, a yoke pressing down on his heart. With every expectation weighed against his conscience, Alex had to confront the very essence of what he stood for. Would he be the representative of a company more concerned with profit than people? Or would he take a stand beside the community that had begun to embrace him? Lily's cheerful spirit glimmered in the corner of his eye, a beacon amid the uncertainty. He thought of her words, of the budding connections and the potential to create real change. All of a sudden, everything felt interconnected, like threads weaving a stronger fabric for their town. Could he truly risk it all for something so powerful, so fundamental? The thought left him suddenly breathless. "Ms. Carter," he finally said, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "I think we need to reevaluate our priorities in light of what is happening here." The ripple of gasps echoed through the community. His heart raced as the weight of it all settled on his shoulders. With each passing second, he could sense the magnitude of this decision. And as he looked into the eyes of the community, past the fear and uncertainty, he wondered what ripple effect this moment could create. Would they find a way to rise together, or would this encounter fade into yet another burden? Just then, the sound of a distant siren echoed through the air, a stark reminder of reality. What consequence awaited them all? The siren's wail faded into the solemn silence, leaving behind an air thick with tension. Alex stood at the front, his heart pounding in his chest, eyes darting around the room. Every gaze was locked onto him, expectant, uncertain, and for a moment, he felt like he was on a tightrope stretching over a chasm. "What are we going to do?" whispered a voice near the back. The doubt in her tone hung heavier than the unfinished business in the air. I don't know," Alex stammered, a wave of vulnerability washing over him. But even as he spoke, a voice inside him pushed back, urging him to articulate the hope that had begun to bloom amidst the fear. Lily stepped forward, her tiny frame somehow exuding a mighty spirit. "We'll figure it out, together," she asserted, cutting through the hesitation like a breath of fresh air. There was a fire in her eyes that ignited something in Alex. "Yes. Together," he echoed passionately, fueled by her conviction. "We've already started. The garden, the bike repairs, these are just beginnings. We can build a support system, not just for the people here, but for everyone who is out there feeling lost." As he spoke, the fellow attendees nodded, their skepticism fading like morning fog under the sun's embrace. Encouraged by his words, a murmur of agreement spread through the room. They were starting to reclaim their agency, one small piece at a time, but as the ebbing applause washed over him, Miss Carter's expression became only more distressed. "Alex," she said, her voice once more slicing through the celebratory air. "You know as well as I do that the layoffs could destroy this community. If we don't align with the company's directives, there will be repercussions. You know too much." Her words stung, a harsh reminder of the corporate chains he was tangled in. The warmth blossoming in the room felt like a fragile candle flickering against a rising wind. With a deep breath, Alex faced her fully, determination setting his jaw. "What is your priority, Miss Carter? Numbers or people?" He challenged her, real fear coursing through his veins. The silence that followed was deafening. Around them, the community's tension coiled tighter, breaths held in anticipation. Everyone was waiting for her response, wondering which side she would take as the weight of this moment loomed large. She hesitated, glancing between her corporate allegiance and the spark of unity growing in the room. The company, it's complicated. But was it? That little girl's voice, standing firm against the tide of corporate indifference, rang true. She had a vision, a simple yet transformative dream. Maybe it doesn't have to be so complicated, he remarked gently. What if there's a way to bring both sides together, to find a solution that respects this community and aligns with corporate interests? Can we even try? The flicker of hope intensified in the room, lighting a pathway through doubt. Faces that had once been clouded by fear now shone with possibility, a community awakening to their potential. I believe we can change the story, Alex continued, his voice rising with certainty. But it starts here, with us, right now. Lily's smile illuminated the room, her infectious spirit kindling energy in every corner. Others began to murmur ideas again, forming alliances, and discussing collaboration, the air a tapestry of vibrant hope, but in that moment of rising possibility, a sudden voice pierced the jubilant atmosphere. What if we lose everything? It called out, trembling from somewhere in the crowd. The room shifted, uncertainty settling back in like an unwelcome visitor. Alex felt the weight of that question echo in his own heart. How fragile was this newfound resolve? As the siren's distant wail faded, another bell began to toll, urgent and foreboding, a reminder that threats were real and looming. Could they truly join forces and stand against the tide? Or would the corporate storm sweep through and shatter their fragile connections? Everything hung in the balance, and Alex realized that the true battle was just beginning. The murmur of doubt echoed off the walls, swallowing the faint sense of unity that had just ignited. Alex could see the fear etched on every face, the flickers of hope battling the shadows of despair. One voice among many, yet that one voice carried the weight of every unspoken anxiety. Maybe we can try something different. Alex suggested, hoping his words would reach the corners of their hearts. What if we initiate an open forum? Invite the community, the company's leadership. Let us share our stories and realities. Show them our faces, our children. Lily's small hand shot up like a flag of triumph. Yes. If they see us, really see us, maybe they'll understand. He could almost feel the collective inhale around the room, as if everyone were holding back the tide of fear and doubt, waiting for a sign of hope. Alex seized this chance. Let us host a meeting. We will gather everyone, the families, the workers, community leaders. We can showcase our strength and spirit. His heart raced with the possibility of their combined voices, a chorus of resilience that could be impossible to ignore. Do you really think they would listen? Ms. Carter interjected, her doubt palpable but warm at the same time, a flicker of thought battling her corporate staunchness. They are used to their bottom line. A few heartfelt stories might not change that. No, it's more than just stories. It's about our lives, our future. Alex shot back, each word dripping with conviction. They may think they're just numbers on a ledger, but look at us. We are families, dreams, laughter, and pain. Together, we represent hope, and we need to make them see it. A wave of emotion washed over the room, and, for the first time, Alex saw glimmers of agreement spark in their eyes. Slowly, hands began to rise, people offering their stories like slices of their lives on a platter. I'm just a single mother, working 2 jobs to feed my kids, one woman said, her voice thick with emotion. If we lose this place, I lose everything. Another man, his rugged exterior betraying a softness, added, this job means my kid gets to go to college. I don't want to fail him. Each voice stitched a delicate fabric of connection, binding them all together. And Alex could feel his heartbeat echoing with theirs, a rhythm of hope merging into a symphony of possibilities. Now, we need to gather stories, present them together. We can even create a community video, something raw and real. Lily exclaimed, excitement bubbling in her tone. Every face tells a story, Alex agreed, now riding a wave of adrenaline. And every story might just shift the tides. But even as momentum surged, a shadow loomed larger. A thought nagged at him. What if the higher-ups snapped back with cold indifference? What if their heartfelt plea fell flat against corporate walls? Suddenly, gathering voices didn't feel sufficient. The weight of their collective demand pressed down like lead. As Alex stood there, the passion surging through the room, he couldn't shake the growing sense of urgency and fear that accompanied this new hope. How could they effectively reach out? What would it take to tear down the barriers constructed by nameless suits, unable to see the faces behind the numbers, uncertainty intertwined with the fervor, creating a tension that surged through the air? I won't let them silence us, he declared, though doubt crept silently at his edges. The air buzzed with commitment, with a promise to fight for their voices, but deep down, he wondered if it was truly enough. Would this fragile movement gain enough momentum to break through the corporate defenses, or were they destined to remain unheard? As each moment passed, Alex knew their journey was just beginning. They were taking their first steps into the unknown, a territory rich with potential yet fraught with risks. But one question lingered heavy in the air: would they have the strength to turn their collective hopes into the change they desperately needed? The next afternoon, Alex sat in the community center's small meeting room, surrounded by posters and flyers they were preparing for the upcoming event. Excitement crackled in the air like electricity. "Okay, guys. We have to make this count," he said, trying to channel the energy around him. He looked around the table at familiar faces, newly united. "Let us finalize our stories and decide who will share them." Lily, sitting with her hands clasped, her small face alight with determination, was the first to respond. "What if I made a poster? Something bright. We can put it up right by the entrance." "That's a great idea." Alex nodded, his heart swelling. "It'll welcome people in, show them we're serious." As she sketched out her design, a stirring reminder of the innocence they were fighting for, Alex felt the warmth of hope spreading. Yet doubt slithered at the edges of his mind. What if they didn't care? What if their community stories weren't enough? It took everything in him to silence those thoughts. The time for fear was done. They were gathering strength, and he needed to hold on to that. "Let us practice our stories, share them with each other," Alex suggested, hoping to solidify their courage. He turned to the woman who had spoken about her children in the previous meeting. "Do you want to go first?" She hesitated, her eyes flickering nervously, but after a moment nodded. "I suppose I can start." It's just her voice trembled. "I've never spoken like this before." "That's the point." Alex encouraged, sensing her vulnerability. "You're not alone. We're all in this together." As she shared her tale, her struggle, her dreams for her kids, the moment stretched like a delicate thread. Each listener was rapt, feeling the power of her words ripple through the room. When she finished, there was a palpable silence, then a soft murmur of encouragement resonated amongst them. One by one, they shared their thoughts. The stories grew deeper, richer, weaving a tapestry of their interconnected challenges and hopes. Laughter bubbled up too, a lightheartedness mingling with the intensity, creating a balance that made the weight easier to bear. Alex felt the room shift. They were not just sharing stories about hardship, they were building a foundation of solidarity. He glanced at Lily, who beamed bright with shining eyes. In that simple moment, he saw something he hadn't noticed before: the shared strength in vulnerability. After hours of rehearsal, inspiration flowed like water crashing over rocks, shining, raw, beautiful. As they concluded, Alex felt a newfound power pulsate within the walls of the center. But as they wrapped up, a piercing thought crept into Alex's mind. The event was only a few days away, but what if they drew the ire of the company's higher-ups instead of compassion? What if someone in power decided to dismiss them before they had a chance? "Hey, I know we're ready for the meeting," he said, voice firm but laced with nerves, "but we need to prepare for the response, too. What happens if they don't listen?" Lily's expression turned serious. "Then we'll just have to find a way to make them listen. If we stand together, they can't ignore us." Her fierce belief sent a refreshing breeze through the room, yet it mirrored the doubts clawing at Alex. They needed unity, but they also needed strategy. What if, Lily continued, a spark in her eyes, we get someone from the leadership team to come here, to see us with their own eyes? Who could we ask? Alex pondered, a flicker of curiosity igniting within him. The thought swirled like a whirlwind, pulling them out of their small space of fear and into open possibility. But as he envisioned their steps together, a lingering question hung in the air: who in the executive suite would be willing to step down from their lofty platforms and truly see the reality of those they impacted? A chill enveloped his spine, but with it, an undercurrent of determination emerged. They would take this fight with every ounce of their shared spirit. The days blurred together as they worked tirelessly toward the event. Each meeting filled with nervous energy, a mix of hope and anxiety. Alex felt the pressure building, but amidst it all, he found strength in the collective heartbeat of their group. They were united, each story hanging in the air like fragile threads, ready to be woven into something beautiful. On the morning of the event, the community center buzzed with anticipation. Posters decorated the walls, vibrant images that echoed their resolve. Lily's artwork radiated warmth, capturing the spirit of their cause. "All we need is courage," she had said earlier, and her words clung to Alex's heart. As attendees began to trickle in, a knot formed in Alex's stomach. What would they say? Would their truths resonate or fall flat? It was a vulnerable position, and the thought of their stories being dismissed felt like a stone lodged in his throat. He glanced at Lily, who stood near the entrance, energetically welcoming everyone. Her smile was infectious, lighting up the space. Alex took a deep breath, searching for that same courage. During the opening, each member took turns sharing, their voices rising and blending into a chorus of determination. Alex watched as their words danced around the room. Each account was a testament to struggle, resilience, and the unbreakable human spirit. When it was Alex's turn, he felt his heart racing as he approached the makeshift podium. He looked out at the sea of hopeful faces, and suddenly the room felt smaller in a good way. "This is not just about our fights," he began, his voice unsteady yet firm. "It's about our collective strength. Each of us carries a burden, but together, we can lift them." He paused, letting his words sink in. Faces nodded in understanding. "We want the leadership to see us, not just as numbers or statistics, but as people, with dreams and hopes. That's why we're here." The energy shifted as they shared their stories into the ether, the community breathing alongside them. Every word felt like a small step toward something greater. The empathy in the air was palpable, wrapping around them like a warm hug. But Alex's nervous edges remained, gnawing at him in the silence that followed each story, equally filled with heartbreak and laughter. After the last speaker, there was a moment of stillness before the applause erupted, echoing like rolling thunder. It was electric, the sound cascading over their hearts. Lily's eyes sparkled, and Alex felt a wave of gratitude. Then, something unexpected happened. Just as they were about to wrap up, a tall figure stepped into view, the unexpected presence of Mr. Hayes, the CEO. A slight murmur swept through the crowd, curiosity igniting in every eye. Alex's heart raced. What was he doing here? Mr. Hayes stood there for a brief moment, taking in the scene, the posters, the faces filled with raw emotion, the stories that had just unfolded. Finally, he spoke, his voice resonating through the room. "I've heard so many stories today. I want to know more about you all. What can we do to change things?" The room held its breath. Alex felt a rush of hope flood through him, intertwining with a lingering fear. Could this really be the chance they needed? "Will you help us reach more people?" Lily asked, her small voice rising above the silence. Alex's heart swelled, filled with admiration for her bravery. The CEO smiled, a warmth in his gaze. "If I can understand your stories better, then yes, I'll do everything in my power." But as the crowd erupted with cheers, Alex's mind raced. What did this truly mean? What would it take to ensure their stories didn't fade into promises unkept? As the clattering and excitement surrounded him, doubt crept in again. Was it enough? The question lingered in the air. What happens now that they had been seen? What would they have to do to keep Mr. Hayes accountable, so their voices would echo beyond this room? The journey felt just beginning, spiraling into uncertainty and promise. As the applause slowly faded, a wave of exhilaration mingled with uncertainty swept through the room. Alex stood rooted in his spot, absorbing the moment. He could see the flickers of hope on everyone's faces, but doubt still gnawed at him. What would a mere promise from Mr. Hayes mean in the long run? Transitioning from pledges to actions could prove to be a mountain they'd have to climb together. "Let us gather around," Lily called out, her voice exuberant. Everyone moved closer, forming a tight circle. Alex noted how energized she appeared, as if the very air around them buzzed with electric potential. He couldn't help but admire her spirit. As they huddled, Alex felt a sense of kinship solidifying, a shared purpose binding them. Each person carried a different burden, yet their collective strength seemed to echo through the small space they occupied. Would it be strong enough to hold together through the complexities of the next steps? "What if we prepare something to present to Mr. Hayes?" Lily proposed, her eyes shining with possibility. "Something concrete he can take back with him, a list of our needs, or maybe even a petition." A murmur of excitement rippled through the group. Ideas began to fly. Someone suggested a community needs assessment, while another wanted to create a video showcasing their stories. Each suggestion built upon the last, transforming the initial hesitations into a glowing tapestry of ambition. "I like the idea of a video," Alex chimed in. "It can give a face to our stories. Let us show him who we are, not just what we need." His own voice felt steadier now, infused with the shared fervor blooming around him. "Let us team up," Lily said, her enthusiasm contagious. "We can divide into groups. Those of us who are tech-savvy can work on filming and editing, while others can help write scripts based on our stories." As they began organizing, the room shifted from mere celebration to a furnace of collaboration. Ideas mixed and mingled, enthusiasm morphing into action. Alex felt hope blooming within him, pushing against every doubt that had taken residence in his mind. While they buzzed with plans, Alex caught Mr. Hayes watching them from the sidelines. The CEO's expression now held a blend of curiosity and respect as he observed their transition from speakers to activists. For Alex, that look felt like a spark, waking him up to the reality of their power. They weren't just waiting for change. They were igniting it. Then, against the backdrop of their fervent discussions, a soft voice broke through. "Excuse me." The group turned to find a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, clutching a handmade card decorated with bright colors and childish scrawls. The room quieted as all eyes fell on her, curiosity alight in every gaze. "I saw you all talking about things that matter," she said, her sincerity disarming. "I wanted to say thank you for being brave. This is for you." She extended her small hands, offering the card to Mr. Hayes that he knelt down to accept it, his gaze gentle. "Thank you, sweetie. It means a lot to me." Alex could see the warmth radiating from Mr. Hayes, the sincerity of the act affecting everyone in the room. The little girl smiled, then turned to the group. "I believe in you. You'll make it better." Her words hung in the air, simple yet profound, echoing the spirit of hope that the gathering had cultivated. As a chill of realization washed over Alex, he understood something crucial. This child's heartfelt gesture mirrored their own bravery. It reminded them that no effort was too small, no voice too quiet. All were valuable in the dance of change, but as the day's excitement simmered down, one question glimmered in Alex's mind, a question that wouldn't let him rest. What would it take to keep this momentum alive, and how could they ensure that their stories would be heard long after this moment faded? As Mr. Hayes began discussing potential next steps, Alex felt the weight of that question growing heavier. What lay ahead was a daunting frontier, but one they were beginning to prepare to explore together. The meeting stretched on, the clock ticking loudly in Alex's mind, each second heavy with anticipation. Mr. Hayes laid out potential timelines and logistics, but Alex's thoughts drifted. The little girl's innocent words echoed in his ears, a soft but steady heartbeat in the whirlwind of plans. After what felt like ages, Mr. Hayes finally signaled for a pause, looking across the sea of eager faces. "I want to hear your stories," he said, his tone earnest. "Not just the fact-finding reports or suggestions. I need to understand the heart behind this initiative." A hush fell over the group, excitement laced with uncertainty. Staring at the moment before them, Alex could almost feel everyone's collective heartbeat sink. They were all thinking the same thing: this was it. What if we each share our story, but also the stories of those we represent? Lily suggested, her confidence infectious. "We can create a narrative, a way to show how each person's life is woven into this community." Both energy and anxiety flooded the space. Alex cleared his throat, feeling the weight of expectation on his shoulders. "I think that's a great idea. It's about more than just us. It's about all the voices that want to be heard." Spontaneously, the group began to share. One by one, voices grew louder, underlining struggles, bursts of strength, moments of laughter, even tears. Each story painted a vivid image of lives intertwined, all aiming at the same goal: change. Through a story shared about long nights of worry and the relief a community garden had brought to a weary mother, he began to feel the walls of doubt around him crumble. Each testimony surged with emotion, transforming the room into a tapestry of hope. The conversation had morphed from plans into something deeper, a genuine connection carved from shared experiences. As Alex turned to face the group, he felt a shift within himself. Here they were, standing firm and united, warriors fighting for their future. They were not just bringing forth facts, they were drawing on a well of heart and raw truth, infusing every word with unbearable strength. Suddenly, a hand shot up in the back. It was the little girl again. "Can I share my story too?" Stunned whispers filled the air. Alex exchanged incredulous glances with Lily. Could this child share something so small yet so impactful? "Of course." Mr. Hayes replied warmly, genuinely inviting her forward. The girl smiled shyly and stepped into the circle. "I just wanted to say that my mom always tells me stories about how everyone helps each other. She says that no matter how small you are, you can make a big difference. Like how you helped my neighbors when they were sad." Her innocent words struck a chord. Alex felt a swell of warmth spread throughout the room. This little girl's insight echoed the spirit of their conversation, rearranging everyone's ideas. Just then, something unexpected happened. Mr. Hayes glanced at Alex, and in that fleeting moment, a silent understanding passed between them. This child had highlighted their mission in its purest form, bridging the gap between the corporate world and the community they represented. "You're right, sweetheart," Mr. Hayes responded, his voice genuine but tinged with emotion. "Everyone has a role to play, no matter their age." As the day wound down, a familiar excitement began to brew again among the group. But now, it felt different, evolving into something more dynamic and heartfelt. It was as if they were all charged with an unspoken energy, ready to transform those poignant moments into action. As they started to wrap things up, Alex felt an adrenaline rush. They had succeeded in making a real connection that could not be ignored. But as he looked around the room, he knew there was still much to be done. Just before departing, Mr. Hayes turned to them, a serious look in his eyes. "If you want to make a real impact, I need you to help me understand how to frame these stories for the bigger audience. Are you willing to do that?" The air crackled with possibility. Alex felt both exhilarated and daunted. How on earth would they navigate from here? And the greater question lingered: what if their heartfelt stories were the key to unlocking the change they sought? Days blended into a flurry of meetings and preparations. The whole community seemed to swell with anticipation, the air thick with the spirit of resilience. They were no longer just a group of frightened individuals, they had become a band of determined warriors, ready to present their story to the world. The morning of the event arrived, each person fueled by a cocktail of nerves and excitement. Alex stood at the community center, directing the final touches, adjusting the banners, positioning the chairs, all while keeping an eye on Lily, who bounced around, making sure everything was perfect. Her enthusiasm radiated like sunshine, buying them all hope. When people started to filter in, Alex felt the electricity in the air. Friends and families mingled, the murmur of voices mixing together like music. Children dashed happily around, unaware of any worries, embodying the carefree spirit they all sought to protect. As people settled into their seats, Alex took a moment to breathe. He looked at Lily, whose bright eyes reflected the hopes of everyone present. She smiled at him, pure encouragement, the last boost he needed. Finally, it was time. He took to the front, heart pounding, gazes locked on him. "Thank you all for coming today," he started, his voice steadier than he felt. "This meeting represents our voices, our stories, our journey. We're here to remind everyone that we are more than just a number." He could feel a wave of agreement ripple through the crowd, the mixture of anxiety and excitement palpable. One by one, they shared their stories. The room was a symphony of testimonies. Each voice was rich with emotion, bringing laughter and tears alike. The atmosphere became thick with shared experiences, transforming doubt into camaraderie. As the meeting progressed, the mood lifted. Alex was in awe as he watched each speaker connect with the audience, their vulnerability resonating deeply. Lily's voice, small yet strong, echoed through the room, declaring, "Together we can make things better." Her unwavering belief sent a wave of warmth and determination washing over everyone. Toward the end, Mr. Hayes arrived, his presence commanding attention like sudden sunlight breaking through clouds. He stepped up, his expression serious yet inspired. "I've heard your stories, and I'm here to ensure they matter," he began, voice steady and compassionate. The room fell silent, every pair of eyes trained on him, holding their breath. "I promise to work alongside you. This community is vital, and we must build a bridge to understanding." As he spoke, a ripple of hope wove through the crowd. Alex felt the tense knot in his stomach loosening. Here was a leader willing to listen, a man ready to initiate change. When Mr. Hayes turned to Lily, his gaze softened. "You've reminded me today of the power of hope and community." With that, he leaned down, and Lily handed him the heartfelt card she had made, the innocence of her gesture bridging their worlds. "Thank you for believing in us," she said, her tiny voice wrapping around all their aspirations like a protective blanket. "That's what we'll work for," Mr. Hayes affirmed, his face lit with sincerity. The crowd erupted into applause, the sound a tidal wave of joy and relief crashing through the room. In that moment, Alex felt connected, not just to this gathering, but to something larger than life. In each face around him, young and old, weary and hopeful, he saw the potential for a brighter future. The lines they had drawn began to blur, with threats of layoffs fading like shadows in the light. Time passed in a blur as they channeled their energy into forming action points with Mr. Hayes. Collaboration sprouted like seedlings, and with every handshake, new foundations for hope were laid. As conversations deepened, laughter filled the spaces, echoing against the walls that had once seemed so impenetrable. Later, as the day wrapped up, Alex stood with Lily, watching people spill out of the center, their faces glowing, conversations buzzing in animated voices. He realized something essential they had started. Something significant, a spark that could set a chain reaction in motion. "Do you think it will be enough?" he asked, casting a glance at the fading sun. Lily, with the wisdom of her youth, simply replied, "It's just the beginning, Alex. We have each other. That's all that matters." Her words resonated deep within him. It was the type of hope that ignited fires in their souls. Together, they had fostered a bond, a commitment to each other. They had opened their hearts and created space for personal stories to mingle and blend into collective strength. As the night drew on, laughter continued to float through the air. Alex felt his heart swell. They would rise together, sustain that momentum, and create a new narrative woven from unity and understanding. The fight was far from over, but with today's hope as their foundation, he knew they could face any storm. Together, now is the time to step up. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next incredible story that could change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this emotional journey. We want to hear from you. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. True fans, this is your moment to shine.